Hi there, I'm going to show you how to paint behind a toilet using this, this, and this. I mean, not this. I was going to say this one, because it's longer, and sometimes you don't have space. I'll show you later. Hey, why is this all even on the table? Is this blood? Hey, is this blood?
I've seen the fruits of a labor. What I have, I built with my own hands.
Yo, what's cracking, folks? Jeremy Vassar here with Practical Painting. We are professional painters here to help you with your various painting endeavors, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to paint behind a toilet. This is actually something we get asked about quite a bit, and one of the jobs that we do a lot is we paint newly renovated bathrooms. Most of the time, we're the last guys in, so that means all the fixtures and everything have been installed, including the toilet, and a lot of times there is new drywall installed behind the toilet that we need to paint. So I'm going to be showing you guys how we accomplish that task, and the footage you're going to be seeing in this video, aside from the studio footage here, is going to be from a job that we completed a couple weeks ago. So big thank you to Melissa and Rob for letting us film in your house. That was very kind and gracious of you folks. All right, here's the setup. You're painting your bathroom, but you don't want to remove the toilet to paint behind it, and there are a lot of good reasons for you not to remove the toilet. It can cause quite a few problems if you do move it. One, you have to find a good place to put it. That can be a challenge. They're quite heavy and cumbersome to move. If you uninstall it, a lot of times when you go to reinstall it, you have to replace the O-ring that seals the toilet to the floor when you go to put it back down. So there's quite a few reasons to just leave it alone, and if you have the space behind it, like one of the caveats is if you look at the tank of the toilet, you're going to need at least like 3/4 to an inch between the back of the tank and the wall. If you have that amount of space, you can totally paint behind it without having to pull anything out or uninstall your toilet. So here's how we do that, and here's what you're going to need to accomplish that task. All right, so the first thing you're going to need is a mini roller frame. This is a relatively inexpensive roller frame. You get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, Sherwin-Williams, Benny Moore, all those places. And this is the smaller one. These are the ones that I like to use. Sometimes powder rooms, the walls of the toilet are like super close to the sides of the toilet, and you might not be able to use this one. If you only have access to the top of the tank, then you're going to need a longer extension, which is this guy. Also not that expensive. It's totally doable to do this, but these are harder to control. It's harder to get good pressure the further away the roller cover is from the handle. So if I have the room to use it, I prefer one of these guys. And the other thing you're going to need is a mini roller cover, which is one of these jammers. Bam. So if you can see that, these are pretty sweet. It comes in a box that looks like that. These things are really cheap. It's like, I think it's less than 10 bucks for that whole box. So these are, you know, under $1 a piece, which is really nice. So that's your mini roller cover. You're also going to need a roller pan. These are the ones that we use. It's just a jumbo pan, and you can fit like a whole gallon of paint in here. And then we have the black inserts that go in here as well, which are really nice for cleanup. If you're painting your bathroom, it's likely you're painting the walls as well, not just behind the tank. So you'll probably have a full-size pan out with a regular 9-inch roller like this guy. So generally, I just like working out of that pan. The other thing you will need is some drop cloths, like this guy here. Nothing too crazy. You just want to be able to kind of tarp off your area and keep it clean, and then avoid splatter. And I think the last thing you're going to need is frog tape, which is this guy here. That's what we use. Boom. Is that focusing? Bah, there it is. All right, so this is frog tape. I like 1.5 or inch. This is inch frog tape. And this is really good stuff, so we'll be taping off a few things that I'm going to talk about here in a second that you'll see me use in the video. And then one other thing is the wall paint. In the video, I'm using Duration Matte, which is what we use most of the time in the bathrooms. Super important that you use a good moisture and mildew resistant paint in your bathroom, particularly if it has a water element in it, like showers and baths and things like that, so that way you avoid any mold and mildew issues. So from Benny Moore, it's their bath and spa paint, and then for Sherwin-Williams, you can either use their Emerald or their Duration line of paints, and that has the moisture and mildew built into it. Let's talk about prep for a second. There's a few things you're going to want to do before you get started painting behind the tank, and number one is you want to pull the tank lid off of the top of the toilet and put that somewhere else where it's not going to get messed up. Two, you should take a little piece of tape and tape over the toilet handle or the flusher So just make sure you tape that off. And then I usually like taking a drop cloth and fold it up a little bit and just put it over the toilet seat. And then you obviously want to make sure the toilet seat is closed. That's kind of like step one of prepping that out. What that does is when you actually go to roll the wall and roll behind the toilet, it'll help cut down on any of the splatter that's going to get on the toilet from the roller. So in the video, you'll see that I've already primed the walls and I've already gotten 2 coats of paint on the trim. So the trim's all done. In our paint process, we do the ceiling and the trim first, and then we do the walls last. Some guys don't do that. That's totally fine, and they do the trim last. I'm not here to argue that point. I'm just saying that's what we do in our process. So you're gonna, once you have the trim done and the ceiling done and all that jazz, you're just left with the walls, which is what we're talking about. You wanna grab some tape and tape off that baseboard trim. And if you are unfamiliar to taping, I would just say, you can watch kind of how I do it in the video right now. You don't necessarily have to pull off the same amount of tape that I do, because I'm so used to doing this that I pull off like a full wingspan, so usually about 3 feet. You can always just take like, 12 inches or so, and then just kind of layer this down as you go, and then overlap each piece so you get one continuous unbroken line. And if you tape off the baseboard well, what'll happen is when you go to pull it, you'll have a nice clean line. Aside from helping you get a clean line between the wall and the baseboard, what it also does is protects the baseboard from any splatter from the roller. So we've got things taped off and things are ready to go. You also want to spread a drop cloth up, up around the toilet and up against that baseboard, because that's where we're going to be rolling. And now we're gonna cut in the walls. So you wanna cut in all the walls around the toilet, and you can use whatever brush you would like. I used a 2.5 inch Corona Cortez in this video. Those are my personal favorite, but you just wanna get a nice clean line behind the toilet and around the edges and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about the actual main wall parts. Sometimes there is the actual water line going into the toilet, might be going into the wall, and you're gonna wanna paint around that. And give yourself a nice area to roll into. That's why I usually like using a 2.5 inch brush. Gives me plenty of kind of margin to get my roller into that line. So now that things are cut in, now it's time to bust out the old mini roller, which these frames are super simple. And one thing you want to look at is if it's already been previously used and there's a bunch of paint kind of gunked up on here, you can take a knife and just chip out some of the excess. And then you just want to slide your mini roller on here. You don't have to, this one's pretty tight, but you don't have to actually get the mini roller all the way to the edge of the frame. See that here? Like, boom. Yeah, so it only has to go on about that much for it to roll. Sometimes I've noticed guys will like shove it all the way to the edge and they have trouble with the mini roller actually spinning, which can be an issue. So, but it doesn't need to go all the way over. You can just get it to about here and then you're good. So now that you've got this set up, you're going to go ahead and dip into your roller pan that has your your wall paint on it, and then kind of just go back and forth, get this nice and loaded up, and then you're going to start painting behind the toilet, as you see me do here. Usually I start from the top. And then I kind of go as far down as I can, and then I kind of go from the top, the sides, the bottom, and then what you want to do is as you paint around the tank, you want to give yourself some margin on each side so that when you go to roll with the big roller, you have space to roll into that surface that you rolled. Because what you want when you're done rolling, you want all that texture to be the same across the whole wall, so it doesn't look like you've done something different around the back of the tank. One of the other things to consider when you're rolling behind the tank, don't worry about getting paint on the very back of the tank, because you're never gonna see that. If you happen to, hit strike the side of the tank, it's generally pretty easy to just wipe that off with a blue paper towel or whatever kind of towel you have in your pocket. But what we're really concerned with is covering all the surface area of drywall behind the tank and giving yourself enough margin when you go to roll the rest of the wall to then roll into the areas that you've rolled behind that tank. So once that's completed, I'd go ahead and roll the rest of the wall with your 9-inch roller, and then, connect all the areas that you've rolled. That should be, nice and solid, and you just want to make sure you don't have any raspberries or lap marks, which means like big areas of buildup when you've rolled, usually on the edge of where the roller hits. So you want a nice uniform finish through your whole wall. That's what you're going for when you're rolling. And then that's coat number 1, and you're just going to do that again once the paint dries. So give it, depending on your drying conditions, about an hour to 2 hours to dry, and then you can go ahead and do your second coat. Cut in everything again, and then roll behind the tank, and then roll the whole wall. And that is pretty much how you do it. Now that you've got 2 coats on and it's looking pretty snazzy, you can go ahead and pull tape. Pull your baseboard tape, the tape on the flusher handle, and then also put the tank lid back. You can pull your drop cloths out of there, and then you can check for any touch-ups. So if you got touch-ups, you can touch up with your trim paint and the baseboard, and then make sure if you got any paint flecked on the toilet, just scrape that off with your fingernail and your paper towel, and you guys should be good to go. If you found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. That helps us out quite a bit. And until next time, y'all take it easy, work smart, and have a good one. Peace.
Amazing.